Imagine this. Two patients walk into a clinic. Both are diagnosed with the same illness. Both are prescribed the same medication. Fair enough, right? And yeah, one of them did recover in a matter of a few weeks. The other, however, experienced extreme side effects and saw no progress at all. Why? The answer may not lie in the diagnosis, nor in the prescription, but in the DNA. Let's turn back time for a moment. In 1972, at the University of Ghent in Belgium, a scientist named Walter Fiers and his team achieved an extraordinary feat. They were the first to sequence a gene, the gene being bacteriophage, a common virus. That's bacteriophage. So yes, it did start in a modest way, but in science, even the most seemingly insignificant discoveries turn into something much more remarkable. And only a few decades later, in 1990, did the Human Genome Project start. It was an initiative started by researchers across the globe in order to decode the entire set of instructions for human existence. And they did it. They actually did it. It took a measly 13 years, but by 2003, they were able to collect information on all 3 billion base pairs of human DNA. They pinpointed every single gene, and this unlocked a portal, not merely to understand illnesses, but to grasp people, to understand what makes us, us, to reveal what defines our humanity. And that revelation led to something much, much more important: the emergence of pharmacogenomics, a realm where genetics and medicine converge, a realm where treatments for ailments aren't just made for illnesses, but they're made for you. Currently, due to the years of genomic research that we possess, almost all pharmaceutical firms and biomedical labs use genomic technology to better understand illnesses and create new, better solutions. This surge in our capability to understand genetic information is precisely what has driven pharmacogenomics from just a concept to real-world application. Scientists can now relate DNA patterns with how individuals react to certain medications. This tells us why a certain patient may react very well, they'll be cured in a couple of days, while others may take weeks or may not even recover at all. We're shifting from the outdated method of prescribing medications. It's no longer solely about gender, age, or weight. We now know that genetic variation down to a single alteration in a DNA letter can profoundly impact how drugs are absorbed, processed, or removed from the body. And this isn't just a theory. The FDA has already begun to incorporate genetic details into pharmaceutical labels. This has made it much easier for physicians to administer medicine to their patients more safely and more accurately. This represents the true potential of precision medicine, the ability to give the correct medicine in the right dosage for the right individual. Here's a practical example, actually. The anticoagulant warfarin. It's been used for quite a while now, actually, but doctors still find difficulty in administering it. Too less would lead to ineffectiveness. Too much causes hazardous and dangerous bleeding. We now know, though, that the gene variants that you possess affect how fast you metabolize warfarin. Through pharmacogenomic testing, physicians can accurately find what dosage of warfarin will be appropriate for you. This is precision medicine in practice. Antidepressants are also well known for their consistent ineffectiveness. Often, they have to try 3 to 4 different medications before they see any results at all. Through pharmacogenomic testing, though, they can determine which medications will work the best prior to administering any at all. And this is done by examining how the liver enzymes and serotonin systems in the body work genetically in the brain. Let's look at one last example. In the United Kingdom, a young boy underwent a standard surgical procedure. He was prescribed codeine, a drug usually given to those experiencing terrible pain. And it was working fairly well for a while, yes, but one night he didn't wake up. Subsequently, genetic analysis showed that he was an ultra-rapid metabolizer, meaning that the codeine in his body transformed into morphine too rapidly, oversaturating his system with morphine up to deadly amounts. A typical prescription turned deadly due to an undetected genetic variant. Now picture if his care team had been aware of this beforehand. Through pharmacogenomic testing, they might have been able to identify his risk prior to administering the medicine. They might have selected a more secure option. They might have preserved his life. This is the reason pharmacogenomic testing is so important. It's not merely about science or discoveries, it's about care. It's about saving lives. And these tales unfold all around the world, but they all have one common message. When healthcare understands your genetics, it truly understands you. Consider it a dialogue between your DNA and the medications you take. Now, let's look at the finance aspect of pharmacogenomics. Imagine this, a small pill, a tiny pill, something no larger than a Tic Tac. This pill costs $1,000. Now, this pill may be the difference between life and death for some, yes, but for others, it's simply out of reach. Why? To find this answer, we must uncover the hidden engine behind modern medicine, the economics of pharmacology. It's a story of science, money, and sometimes morality. Every new drug starts as a gamble. On average, it takes 10 to 15 years and at least $2.6 billion to bring a single drug from a lab bench to your pharmacy shelf. That cost includes failed trials, regulatory hurdles, and years of research that may go nowhere at all. In fact, only about 1 in 10,000 drugs actually make it to the market. Most don't. Even right now, as we speak, they may be investing thousands of dollars into a drug that'll never make it to the market. But when a drug finally does get approved, pharmaceutical firms aim to recover those costs and turn it into a profit. They're a firm. They need a profit. But this is where prices skyrocket. Think about a life-saving drug for a rare disease. There's a small market, yes, but the R&D costs are massive. That $1,000 pill I mentioned earlier, the Tic Tac, that might be the only way for the company to recoup investment. And here's the economic lever that drives this: patents. When a drug gets approved, it's typically protected for around 20 years from the date of filing. This means that no one else can make a generic version of the drug during that time. That's a good thing, right? Patents incentivize innovation. This means that those who take the risk can enjoy the reward. But there's a catch. This system creates temporary monopolies. When one pharmaceutical firm owns the product, they solely control the price of it. And some companies take advantage of this. Ever heard of evergreening? It's a strategy where pharmaceutical firms reset the patent clock by making small changes in their product. This extends their exclusivity. And it is technically legal, yes, but is it ethical? In high-income countries, even expensive drugs are often covered by insurance. A $1 pill might be cheap here, yes, but it's a day's wage elsewhere. Let's take antiretroviral drugs for HIV as an example. In the 1990s, they costed over $10,000 per person per year. In regions like Africa, where HIV was particularly prevalent, this cost simply wasn't viable. But generic drug manufacturers and activists did manage to push back. Those same drugs, they cost as little as $75 per person per year now. That's the power and politics of the economics in pharmacology. The promise of pharmacogenomics isn't just in science. It's in the lives we can protect, the suffering we can prevent, and the hope that we can finally prevail, person by person, gene by gene. But let's take a step back for a moment. Science is exciting. The potential is endless, but the journey isn't without challenges. There are ethical questions. Who owns your genetic data? Can insurance companies use it? Are we heading towards a world where we are discriminated against based on our genomes? These are all real concerns. And then there's concerns with access. If pharmacogenomics is to fulfill its promise, it can't be a luxury reserved for the few. It needs to be incorporated into every healthcare system. It needs to be made available to everyone, not just those in private hospitals or wealthy regions. But despite the obstacles, I believe in the promise of pharmacogenomics. The future of medicine isn't just about what we prescribe. It's about who we're prescribing it to. It's about putting the person back into personalized medicine. And that, my friends, is a future worth promising. So, the next time you open your medicine cabinet, think about the invisible web that connects together scientists, investors, policymakers, and patients. Think about the economics behind every pill. And ask yourselves, in the business of saving lives, what should a cure be worth? Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.